Okay, this is logic, example 9. We have a bit of an issue with some symbols. So in this particular chart right here, this should be P, and then the negation of P. In the conjunction, I should have P, Q, and then P conjunction Q. The disjunction, I should have P, Q, and then P disjunction Q. And then P, Q, if P, then Q, then P, Q. So sorry about that. So there's an order of operations for our connectives, just as there is for arithmetic. So negation always comes first, grouping symbols first. Negation, conjunction, disjunction, conditional, and then biconditional. All right, so we're going to create a truth table for these compound statements, okay? So when we have the P or not Q, we need to figure out what the not Q is first. Now that'll be pretty simple. It's going to be the opposite of the truth values of Q. So if Q is true, not Q is false. If Q is false, not Q is true. You get the idea. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so now we are going to be looking at, we're ready for the P and the not Q. Okay, right over that a little bit. Okay. All right, so remember that is a disjunction. So the only way that it is false is if our P and our Q are both false, okay? Our P and our not Q, sorry. So here we have a false, false. So those are both false, so that makes this false. Okay, that means everything else will be true. So true, false is true. True, true is true. False, true is true. All right. So on B, we're looking for the truth table for this particular compound statement. So we've got a grouping symbol, and within that grouping symbol, we need to do the not Q first. So that's going to be the opposite of our Q truth values. So false, true, true. Okay? All right, so then next we have to do the if P, then not Q. So we are going to be looking at this column and this column, okay? So remember on the conditional, the only one that's false is if our first statement is true and then the last statement after that is false. So true, false, that's going to give us a false. True, false, false. So true, true is true. False, false is true. False, true is true. So the easy part about those, if it begins with false, I don't even care what comes next. We can just put the true. Okay, and now we need the negation of what we just wrote. So we should have true, and then false, false, false. Okay, so again, we have to do our grouping symbol first. And in that, we have to do the not P. So that's going to be false, false, true, true. Okay, so now we're looking for the conjunction of the not P and Q. So the only one that would be true for our conjunction would be true, true. Everything else would be false. So we're looking at, again, the not P. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that for us. So the not P, we're looking at that first, and then the Q, okay? So false, true, well, that's going to be false. False, false is definitely false. True, true, that's the only one that's true. Then true, false will be false. All right, and then we're going to look at the P, if and only if, negation of P and Q. So we will be looking at Now this column and this column, and we're looking at the biconditional. So the only way those are true is if we have both trues or both falses. So true, false, that's a false. True, false, another false. False, true, that's another false. And then a false, false, that's a true. Okay, so our last example. Again, we have to do the grouping symbol first as they suggested. So that's a and. Remember, the only way that that is true, the conjunction, is if our P and Q are both true. So we have true there, true here, true false is false, true false is false, false true is false, false true is false, false false is false, false false is false. All right, I have that taken care of, and then we have the negation of R. So I just need the opposite truth value of what's in the R column. So false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true. All right, and then we're ready for our disjunction, our or. So I'll go ahead and highlight that we're looking at this column and this column, and we're looking at the disjunction. So the only ones that are false on these are if they're false, false. Everything, if one or both are true, it's going to be true. So true, false is true, true, true is true, false, false is false, false, true is true, false, false is false, false, true is true, false, false is false, false, true is true. Okay, let me just double check that, make sure I'm not a liar. Okay, I think we're good. Now we are not going to have time for example 10 or example 11, so dry your tears, but somehow I know you'll make it.